Hey guys, so this is my 2021 NBA mock draft, and I will be doing the mock draft for the top 15 picks in this draft. So let's get started here at number 1 with the Minnesota Timberwolves picking first overall for the second straight year, and they're going to be going with the best player available here in Cade Cunningham. He's a 6'7" freshman point guard from OSU. And this year he's averaging 20.2 points, 6.5 rebounds, and 3.6 assists. Now, OSU is not known as one of the bigger basketball colleges. It is a relatively smaller one, so it's interesting that Cade decided to go there. But he has definitely helped them out a lot, and he has been an awesome player this year, and I think he is clearly the best player in this class. He's definitely the best guard, and I think with his height, right now, there are a lot of point guards that are a bit taller, and Cade is following that trend at 6'7", and I think also he can also play small forward and also probably shooting guard as well, which is what I think he will do in Minnesota, as they already have D'Lo, but they can probably just roll with 2 point guards in D'Lo and Cade, and then play Anthony Edwards at small forward with Cat at center. So now moving on to number 2, the Detroit Pistons taking Evan Mobley. Now I think this is a guy that Minnesota could take and roll with 2 centers, but I think they're just going to stick with the best player available in Cade, and Mobley is going to go to the Pistons, and I think the Pistons would be very happy with this pick. He is a big 7-foot freshman center from USC. He is very mobile and can pass the ball, but he does need to improve his rebounding, which I think he will. He has really good height, so I don't think that should be a huge concern. This year he's averaging 17.2 points, 9.2 rebounds, 2.3 assists, and 3.1 blocks, which is very solid. I think he has the potential to be an elite center in the NBA, and kind of in that second tier of centers. Not necessarily a franchise center, but a very good center, and kind of a guy that I think the Pistons can build their team around as they kind of head into a rebuild. Now moving on to number 3, we have the Houston Rockets taking Jalen Suggs. He's the best freshman on the number 1 ranked Gonzaga, who is a favorite to win going into March Madness. They've had an amazing year, and Jalen Suggs has been at the forefront of that. He's a 6'4" combo guard, and he has 18.1 points, 7.1 rebounds, 5.9 assists, and 2.6 steals this year. He has the potential to be an elite player and a guy that Houston can build around. After now going into a rebuild with not many great players, I think Suggs can end up being at the forefront of their rebuild and be an elite player for them. Now moving on to the Orlando Magic, I have them taking Jonathan Kuminga, who I believe is the best G League player so far, playing on the new Ignite team for prospects who choose to go to the G League in their draft year rather than playing in college. And he is a 6'8" small forward. This year he's averaging 17.4 points, 7.9 rebounds, and 3 assists. So he is a pretty versatile player, and I think that the Magic could release the best player available at this point. They got Vucevic, who is an elite center. I think Kuminga can be a very, very good small forward for them. He can also play the power forward position as well, which I think is very good for them. And overall, I think he definitely does have the potential to be elite. And he did decide to skip college, but I think that has looked as a good decision. But he has very good athleticism and has really good two-way potential in the NBA. Now, moving on here to number 5, I have the Sacramento Kings taking Jalen Johnson. He's a 6'9" small forward power forward who was supposed to play with Duke this year, but he has opted out to train for the draft. But I don't think that should affect his draft stock, as he is a very good player. He has 18.9 points, 10.9 rebounds, 2.8 assists, and around 2 blocks and steals as well. I think he is definitely So next up here at number 5, I have the Sacramento Kings taking Jalen Johnson. He's a 6'9" small forward power forward who's supposed to play with Duke, but opted out to train for the draft. Some people think that should affect his draft stock, but I don't think it will. He got 18.9 points, 10.9 rebounds, 3.8 assists, and around 2 blocks and steals as well. He's a very talented player and definitely, I think, top 5 quality, but there has been a bit of a concern around his actual motor and effort, but he is a very good basketball player, and I think that Kings will take him as, I think getting a combo forward is probably their biggest need, as they have De'Aaron Fox, who I think is an elite player they can build around, and Jalen Johnson, I think, is another very, very good player who they can get. So moving on to the Cavs at number 6, I have them taking Jalen Green, and I think they should be super happy taking him here, as he was a guy who I think a lot of people had him going first overall about a year ago. He has fallen a bit since then, but I think he's a guy that still could definitely go in the top 5, and I think this is a steal for Cleveland. He's a 6'6" shooting guard playing in the G League, and he has averaged 20.2 points, along with 4.6 rebounds, 3.2 assists, and he also has 1.7 steals as well, which is solid. And I think he can be a very good guard on Cleveland. They do already have Colin Sexton, but they can probably just play one of them at point guard or whatever. It shouldn't be that big of an issue, and Jalen Green's the best player available, and I think if he is available, they can't pass on him, as he still has a lot of potential, and he's playing with the G League Ignite, but I think he has a potential to be an elite player for Cleveland, playing with Colin Sexton. So next up at number 7, I have the Washington Wizards taking Scottie Barnes. I think this is a guy who could also go to the Cavs at 6, but I have them taking Jalen Green and Scottie Barnes falling at 7 to the Washington Wizards. He's a 6'9" power forward from Florida State, and he's averaging 15.2 points, 6.2 rebounds, 6.3 assists, and 2.2 steals. So overall, he's a very good player, and I think he's a big man who can pass the ball around as well, so I think that helps a lot. But I think his one biggest concern is he definitely does need to improve his jump shot, which is very lackluster. But I think that can be fixed. He won't be an amazing shooter at any point in his career, but I think he can still, if he can work on his jump shot and train to become make it at least decent, then I think he can become a very, very good player for the Wizards. Moving on to the Pels at number 8, I have them taking James Bucknight. He's a 6'5" sophomore shooting guard from UConn, averaging 22.8 points, 6.8 rebounds, and passing is a bit of a concern for him. He doesn't have very many assists, but I don't think that should be that big of an issue, as right now New Orleans has Zion, which is their franchise player. They also have Ingram, who will be an elite player for them, but I think after them, James Bucknight can be a solid number 3 player for them playing at the guard position. Especially since I think Lonzo, he can probably play point guard, but there's a pretty good chance that he ends up getting traded as well anyways. So moving on to the Thunder at number 9, I have them taking Corey Kispert. He is a 6'7" senior small forward from Gonzaga, and he is Gonzaga's best player. He has just been amazing for them, having a breakout season, playing with Jalen Suggs. He has 22.7 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 2 assists. So he's a very, very good scorer. And even though that he is also a very good scorer like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think it will be good for them to get someone who can pass the ball to Shai. They can get potentially another really, really good player and scorer to play next to Shai. And I think Shai can also kind of end up becoming more of a playmaker with Corey Kispert. Now moving on to number 10 with the Hawks pick, I have them taking Zaire Williams. He's a 6'8" small forward from Stanford, averaging 13.8 points and just under 6 rebounds. And I think that the Hawks, they have Trae Young, who is a franchise player. They've also got Clint Capella. So they have some solid players, but I think that Williams can fit right in there for the Hawks. He's a very strong player, and he has a very good jump shot inside and outside the arc, and he's also very fast. Now, he has struggled with shooting percentage, but I think that can improve. He's a very good all-around player, so I think this could be a great pick for Atlanta. So moving on to the 11th overall pick, I have the Pacers taking Jaden Springer. He's a 6'4" combo guard playing at Tennessee. He's a freshman, and he is averaging 18.3 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 4.2 assists. So I think his rebound numbers are really good, and especially for his height. So I think he can definitely be a solid rebounder in the NBA, and maybe even the top rebounders for point guards. But the Pacers are a very interesting team for picking here, as they don't have any specific needs. I think really the one thing that they could look out for is getting an elite player, but they're not that bad to be a bona fide team in the league. Their best player is Domantas Sabonis, who's a center, and they've also got TJ Warren at power forward, Malcolm Brogdon at point guard, and Karis LeVert at shooting guard. So if anything, they could probably use a small forward, but I have them picking Springer here, as I think he is a very good player, and some people have him going well into the top 10, and some people have him going in the later first round. So he is kind of spread out, but I do think still 11 is a good pick, and the Pacers are pretty much going with, in my opinion, the best player available here, but I think they could also easily go with someone else. So this was a very hard pick to do, so I'm just going to have them taking Jaden Springer. Now, moving on to number 12, I have the Chicago Bulls taking Moses Moody. He's a shooting guard out of Arkansas. He's 6'6", freshman, and he's averaging 19 points a game, 6.2 rebounds, 2 assists, as well as 0.7 blocks and 1.2 steals. So even though the Bulls have Zach LaVine, I think I could possibly see a Zach LaVine trade coming, as the Bulls kind of are in a rebuilding phase. They got Patrick Williams, who they drafted 4th overall, who's kind of a small forward, power forward. So I think bringing in Moody, he can probably play at either guard position for them. Maybe they can move him or LaVine at the point guard. But he is a very good player, put up some impressive numbers. Arkansas isn't one of the best teams, but I think this can end up being a solid pick, and he can learn on the bench behind Zach LaVine maybe for his first year or two, and then he can come in and be a starter for this team. Next up at 13, I had the Memphis Grizzlies selecting Sharif Cooper, and his draft selection for a lot of mock drafts is very spread out, as some people have him going well into the second round, as well as a lot of people having him going in the range that I have him, and I think this is probably the best place for him, as he put up some really good numbers this year with 21.9 points, 4.6 rebounds, and a very stellar 8.8 assists as a small point guard for Auburn. He's only 6'1", but I don't think that is too much cause for concern. He definitely should be going a lot higher based on just the stats, but I think he will be able to translate a lot of this to the NBA, as he has really good assist totals, and he's playing on a good team in a decent division as well with 21.9 points. I mean, his stat line is very good. So I think this could end up being a steal for Memphis, and he has really high potential, especially if he's able to work through his height. But another issue for him is his perimeter shooting and three-point shooting, but he can probably work on him. And he's a very explosive player who has a lot of skill and talent, and even though Memphis has Ja Morant, I think they're still probably going to take Cooper, because he can form a very dangerous duo with him and Ja Morant, two very explosive rim runners. Next up at 14, at the Golden State Warriors taking Isaiah Jackson. Isaiah Jackson is a 6'10" power forward center out of Kentucky, and this year he has 14.7 points, 11.7 rebounds, and 1.3 assists, as well as 4.5 blocks. I think he is probably the best shot blocker in this draft. And the Warriors do I think he is probably the best shot blocker in this class. And the Warriors do have James Wiseman, who is a really good shot blocker, but I think they can probably just roll with the two big men with Isaiah Jackson and James Wiseman. That could be very dangerous, and I think Isaiah Jackson could maybe turn out to kind of be like a Brandon Clark type player, very good shot blocker, and his point total wasn't amazing this year with Kentucky, but he's not going to be meant to put the ball in the bucket, and he does have offensive concerns. He definitely needs to clean that up, but his defensive play with his rebounds and blocks is amazing, as well as 1.3 steals is also very good for him. So I think Warriors will want to take him and probably just play him at power forward as a replacement for Draymond Green. And finally, with the last pick in this mock draft at 15th overall, we have the Toronto Raptors, and I have them taking Alperen Sengun out of Turkey. He is a 6'9" center, so pretty small center, but he has an absolutely fantastic stat line with 25 points, 11.9 rebounds, 3 assists, 2.3 blocks, and 1.6 steals. So I know he is playing in Turkey, and that's why it's kind of on the fence about him actually going 15th overall, but the Raptors do need a center, so I think they will draft Sengun, and I don't really know much about him. Most people don't know much about him. He's only 18 and a half years old, playing in Turkey, but he has an awesome stat line, which is why I think he's probably very wide open for where to be drafted. Maybe he ends up being a top 10 pick, but I think he could also end up being a second round pick as well. By the Raptors taking him here at 15, as they do need a center for sure. And Sengun looks like he has a very high ceiling, but I think this can be a very interesting pick if they do decide to go with Sengun. So I just have him going here at 15 to round out this mock draft. But I hope you enjoyed it, guys. Thank you for watching. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe, but see you in the next one.